Kính lành Phật Di Đà, con nay xin phát nguyện thường niệm danh hiệu Ngài. Hôm nay là mãi mãi.
Okay, now what I want you on the outside, we only know because we are conscious.
Đâu đây trong đời sống thì tất cả những gì chúng ta biết chỉ là những cái bên ngoài, chỉ là những đối tượng bên ngoài qua đối tượng của con.
And inside our mind is filled with memories, ideas, judgments, prejudices, hopes, fears, endless thoughts.
Còn tâm của chúng ta ở bên trong bất kỳ điều gì khen ngợi bởi những hành vi, những tư tưởng, những khái niệm, những hy vọng, sợ hãi, vân vân, vô số những thứ.
And of course, it's natural to think. The problem is not the thoughts themselves.
Nhưng mà chúng ta cần phải nhận ra rằng
And we think they are who we are.
và mà vấn đề ở chỗ là chúng ta đồng hóa mình với những tư tưởng đó, chúng ta cho rằng những tư tưởng đó là thật và chúng ta cho rằng những tư tưởng đó chính là chúng ta.
So the aim of meditation is first of all to understand what is a thought.
Và bây giờ thì quan trọng trong việc hành thiền là làm sao để hiểu rõ tư tưởng là gì,
And then to access that level of awareness beyond and behind the coming and going of the thoughts.
và làm sao để chúng ta vượt lên trên cái sự đồng hóa mình với những tư tưởng đi ra và đi vào.
So now we are giving our attention to the thoughts themselves. At first we are just learning how to observe the thoughts. Like somebody sitting on the banks of a river, watching the river going by.
Bây giờ chúng ta hãy thử thực tập nhìn rõ tư tưởng, quan sát tư đồng đắp y. Và vào giờ này xin mời quý vị trong ban trực tự sắp xếp lại cái khu. Xin mời tất cả quý đại biểu vào giờ này khẩn trương xuống phía sân trường Quốc Quan để cùng chụp hình lưu niệm.
Để buổi chụp hình được trang nghiêm, trước hết để mời quý đi trưởng trong ban chứng minh, quý đi trưởng, quý đi sư trong các trường ban, và sau đó là tất cả các của nước ngoài và quý đi trưởng, quý đi sư của mình. Xin quý vị đi.
Họ không có được đi cho vậy, quý vị xin cô để là cho chúng ta một đường ở đây để cho tất cả sự trước.
Bây giờ phải biết chia ra là Việt Nam ở đâu và nước ngoài ở đâu.
Dạ, chúng ta sẽ chia cái lễ đài ra làm đôi, một phần nữa 2/3 là dành cho đại biểu Việt Nam và 1/3 là đại biểu quốc tế. Dạ.
2/3 là của Việt Nam, rồi 1/3 là của khách nước ngoài là như là Phật.
Dạ,
Và thứ nhất là để cho các vị
đại biểu quốc tế là phía bên on the right hand. Could you please come in the step and stand on the right hand?
Con rất nhớ chuyện được là vì là khi rất là lớn. Chúng con xin là gắn nối tiên con rất nhân của Việt Nam. Ngay từ ngày quý vị mua hết chúng ta chụp hình rất trái trước. Bởi vì theo chương trình chụp thì có 5 lần chụp, mỗi lần chụp có 4.000. Quý vị không phải sao? No, please, all participants, pay attention on the camera. This picture on this not beautiful player. See that line? Please stand in the side. Okay.
Đầu tiên là bọc trưởng.
Còn chụp lần nữa mà. Hai lần. Cái này là bên.
Đừng vui lòng bước xuống để cho các vị trong ban tổ chức cũng như khách quốc tế chụp hình. Sau đó chúng ta tiếp tục chụp hình để gì đảm bảo.
Nước bơm biển.
bumping. No, you. I was like doing this, and you. I'm like ah.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No?
It's fine.
Did I?
No, don't do it again.
Oh, I should.
You're like
move away.
wham. So funny. No,
Sorry.
I'm just kidding with you.
Really? Oh, I really.
Yeah. I was kidding. Not bad. You okay? Yes, I'm okay. Cool.
You want to take pictures? No.
Do it. Here, I'm out the way. You are? What are they? Are they monkeys? What are they?
I think they're cute.
Okay.
I think they're called breadfruit.
Is this an ulu?
Oh, the name is
No. That's not ulu.
Something about Buddha. Flowers are beautiful. Maybe someone took one flower.
Dạ dạ.
Các em tình nguyện viên kiểm tra về điều quốc tế lên hết chưa? Nếu không trẻ thì tiếp tục trân trọng, tiếp tục nhân phẩm Mexico Việt Nam lên sân khấu về sân khấu.
Gọi được bài đúng đó. Không dính đâu. Gọi đúng đó được bài.
To your left hand, please.
Tập đoàn luôn hả?
Please move to your left hand, please.
Đây hết.
N-A-N-A means no. Non. That's all. So beautiful. Amazing. And that's all.
Duyên duyên này là duyên phải này nha. Ba người lặng ở chung nữa. Đấy.
làm gì tao mà dùng tay tao cứ thấy không dập phải
Vâng, xin lý sân khấu để chúng ta kéo sự thành sau.
Thì Quang Âm có mang ngoài cổng. I also need to make some tickets. No, that's
Đồng Nai, Châu Đốc, Sóc Trăng khẩn trương lên khán đài. A Di Đà Phật. Chân niên của các tỉnh thì khẩn trương lên khán đài để chụp hình với ban tổ chức. Xin mời tất cả các em tình nguyện viên mặc áo dài xanh thật đẹp lên chụp hình chung với ban tổ chức. A Di Đà Phật. A Di Đà Phật. Ban tổ chức cô Sumo muốn chụp hình với các em mặc áo dài tình nguyện viên. Mời các em lên khán đài ngay bây giờ để cho các em tình nguyện viên chụp bằng áo dài lên chụp hình với ban tổ chức. A Di Đà Phật. Chụp hình với ban tổ chức. A Di Đà Phật. Để chào quý sư cả. Quý sư cứ cái tội không chịu đi ăn chưa?
và các áo thun tất cả các bạn tình nguyện viên đang có trong trường phổ quang. Tất cả các bạn tình nguyện viên đang làm việc ở các vị trí đi yêu cầu tập trung ngay lập tức xuống ở dưới cái chỗ chụp hình này. Chị muốn các em 5 phút nữa có mặt ở đây hết nha.
Hiện bây giờ đang ký ban nhân sự đi của tỉnh Nha Trang, ai chỉ đạo Phật. Mời sư phụ ở chùa Phổ Quang đi chụp hình với ban tổ chức làm lưu niệm, ai chỉ đạo Phật. Là chúng ta hết chương trình chụp hình tới chương trình tham luận, cho nên quý ni sư, quý sư cô đã chụp hình xong mở chương trình lên. Giấy quốc tế, ai chỉ đạo Phật.
Tất cả các em tình nguyện viên chưa có trên sân khấu lên trên sân khấu ngay lập tức. Tất cả các em tình nguyện viên áo dài áo thun lên trên sân khấu. Các em hướng dẫn các
Vài phút nữa là chúng ta bắt đầu chương trình tham luận của buổi sáng. Tất cả
bạn áo dài đứng số hàng đầu tiên, những bạn có tầng 2 và tầng 3.
Good morning. Xin chào các bạn. Thank you. And thank you for inviting me. In April 2003, I drove in... I can? Okay. In April 2003, I drove into the address provided for the Van Han Temple. I could not see much from the road, but upon driving through the gate, I was met by a large statue of a peaceful and serene woman within a beautifully tended garden. This was my first introduction to Buddhism. As I got out of my car, I noticed a pleasant diminutive man in gray appear from one of the buildings. He did not speak, but smiled kindly. I began speaking to him to ask if anyone was interested in learning English. He motioned for me to wait a minute and hurried back inside. A short time later, he returned with a kind, yet stern woman named Na. That's her. Na told me that her monk, named Tin Man, had just arrived in the United States 3 months before and did not speak English. I explained to Na that I had just earned my teaching degree and was available to teach English, free of charge. Na eyed me suspiciously. I was not Vietnamese, I was not Buddhist, and I was not requesting money. We set a schedule that day to meet every Saturday. I had a feeling she never expected to see me again. The day the lessons began, I brought small plastic alphabet letters, paper, pens, pencils, and children's books with me. As a first grade teacher, I was prepared to start teaching English from the very beginning, with the basics. Na took me into a large room where Tin Man was waiting. He smiled politely, but I could tell I made him nervous. I spread the alphabet letters onto the table and mixed them up. I looked at Tin Man and asked him to put the letters in order. To my amazement, he arranged the letters in minutes. Wait a minute, this person already knows some English. I realized that it probably was not knowledge that Tin Man lacked, but practice and confidence to speak. I left a children's book for him to practice with and told him I would have him read it to me the following week. The following Saturday, Tin Man met me in the parking lot with a children's book tucked under his arm. He greeted me with a hello and motioned for me to follow him. On our way to the main building, he asked me to stop and pointed at a trail of ants marching across our path. We gingerly stepped over them and made our way inside. We learned a lot that day. This was Tin Man's first day of speaking only English, and my first lesson in Buddhism, kindness to all creatures. Accident. Only a few months after studies began, I was in a serious accident. My mother went to the temple to tell Tin Man that I would not be able to make it to class for a while, as I was unable to walk. Transportation was difficult. At the time, not only was my body broken, but also my spirit. I was terribly depressed about my condition. I could not stand, walk, or drive. I was confined to a wheelchair and dependent upon others. I felt helpless and useless. When I came home from the hospital, I was surprised to see Tin Man as one of my first visitors. He brought a pad of paper and pens, and he was prepared to learn. Tin Man did not talk about religion or state that the accident was fated or try to cheer me up by saying that
all would soon be all right. Tin Man listened quietly and let me teach. I had a purpose. At that moment, Tin Man was no longer a student, but a friend. The members of the Van Han Temple are kind to Americans. According to the monks, teachers are revered in Vietnam. As a teacher, I was warmly welcomed to the community and often sat in the front with the elders during ceremonies. At a ceremony several years ago, I ran into Tin Tam, one of the monks that had just returned recently from a visit to Vietnam. I was so excited to see him that I gave him a hug and excitedly talked to him for a few minutes. Tin Tam then headed off to prepare for the ceremony. When I came inside, several serious and unsmiling women elders came to me. I discovered it was not culturally acceptable to hug or be behind closed doors with a monk. Wow. Being American certainly did not trump being female. That's Tina. Later, I talked to the monks about my experience. My American ways amused them. I was clumsy with my chopsticks, as I was with other aspects of Vietnamese culture. I tried to sit with the men in the ceremony, but was ushered to sit with the women. I loudly asked, why? Why do the nuns sit behind the monks? Why do the women sit in different locations? Why are the women treated differently than the men? Most importantly, why aren't there any nuns in the temple? What was I missing? Oh, geez, go back. There we go. One day, a man named Tingo, that's Tingo, walked me around the Van Han Temple. He pointed to the monks' close sleeping quarters. Buddhism is very important and we do not want to look wrong, he said. It was confusing, but I understood. Even the slightest hint of impropriety would invalidate all that the Buddhists in the United States were working so hard to cultivate, a beautiful and pure representation of the Buddhist philosophy. Changes. At the first ceremony I attended more than 6 years ago, I noticed that the temple was less than half full. Most of the participants were older Vietnamese men and women. Since then, there's been many changes. Tin Man was approached by a young couple to conduct their wedding ceremony. They were Buddhist but spoke English and had been raised in the United States. Tin Man created the first American Buddhist hybrid wedding ceremony. He worked hard to combine the logistics and the wording. He was so concerned about getting it right that we practiced that ceremony for several weeks. A week prior to the ceremony, I stopped by each morning on my way to work to hear him recite the text. I am convinced that the word gold is the most difficult word in the English language for a Vietnamese native speaker. Gold. The ceremony went beautifully. The couple was pleased. Not only were they the first English language ceremony to be conducted at the temple, but they were the first newly wedded couple allowed to kiss on the occasion. The temple has grown by leaps and bounds. The number of monks increased from 1 to 5 in order to accommodate the growing number of attendees. As the numbers have grown, so has the space needed to conduct the ceremonies. Ceremonies are now often held in the parking lot. It's a wonderful sight to see the parking lot filled with chairs. This tree, we were teaching the monks how to drive, and Tin Tom actually hit this tree, so we stopped and prayed for the tree and hung a bell on it so it wouldn't happen again. The composition of the audience has also changed. Looking around in the crowd, one will notice a more diverse group of people, non-Asian Americans, as well as Vietnamese, old and young. I found it significant that a woman, Dr. Karma Lekshi Somo, was invited to be a guest speaker at such ceremonies. The ceremony was conducted in both English and Vietnamese. The most important change at the temple is the monks. They are available to speak to anyone who comes to the temple seeking information about Buddhism, and they're available to converse in either Vietnamese or English. Tin Man, the monk I first met 6 years ago, took the children's book without scoffing, studied them carefully, and read them to me, has made some changes as well. Now he gives talks to university students about Buddhism in the temple. In May this year, he earned a master's degree in philosophy at the University of the West in Los Angeles. He plans to continue his studies and work towards a PhD. While standing on the porch of the temple with Dr. Karma Lekshi Somo and Dr. Behar Devri at the ceremony that day, I realized that we're not just a Buddhist, a Catholic, and a Muslim, but 3 women enjoying each other's company. We might not have the same beliefs or agree on everything, but we're women who could affect change. From that day 6 years ago, when I first introduced myself at Van Han Temple, my life has changed for the better in numerous ways. I have met wonderful people and had fabulous experiences. Because of my relationship with Vietnamese Buddhists, I met the inspiring Dr. Lekshi Somo, who invited me to this conference. How did this all happen? With just a bit of initiative and a lot of curiosity, I approached the temple to see how I could help. That step promoted a series of changes. The lesson is that each one of us, no matter what our skills or background, have the potential for change within us. The wish to benefit others especially can open many doors. I hope that all of us will go forth, be open to new adventures, and become agents of change. Cảm ơn các bạn đã lắng nghe. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you, Elisa. Now, speaker is Sister Sumangala, and she will speak on Buddhist teachers, lay and ordained. And her presentation can be found on page 176. Now, Sister Sumangala received a BA in psychology in 1990 and an MA in industrial and organizational psychology from the University of Bangsan, Malaysia. She was ordained in 2000 as a 10-precept nun in the Sri Lanka Theravada tradition. Currently, she advises the Loka education team and the Green Thumb and periodic youth programs. She is also doing an MA in Buddhist studies at the International College in Thailand. So let's welcome Sumangala. Thank you.
Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dhammaya, Namo Sanghaya. Sukhi Hontu, may all of you be well and happy, and thank you for inviting me to share with you this morning about Buddhist women teacher, lay and ordained in Malaysia. The Buddha is the exemplary teacher, the shower of the way, the spiritual friend. His Dhamma missionary teachers evolved to Buddhism for the benefit and happiness of the many, for the good of the world. In this paper, Buddhist woman teacher is defined as female Buddhist teachers, leaders, organizers, or speakers, lay or ordained, in the Theravada or Mahayana traditions, involved in Buddhism, formally or informally, in letter, in spirit, and in action. This paper will highlight some of the outstanding female teachers and the Sunday Dhamma school teachers in Malaysia, their motivations, and how women teachers can be encouraged to become dedicated Buddhist teachers. Development of Dhamma education in Malaysia. Buddhism was reintroduced to Malaysia by Chinese immigrants during the British rule in late 19th century. Buddhist education only evolved in 1950s with the arrival of outstanding missionary monks and nuns from China and Sri Lanka. Gradually, temple function changed from devotional practice such as worship, rites and ritual, chanting, to Dhamma talk, studies and meditation. Of a population of 23 million people in Malaysia, 4.5 million were Buddhists. Today, there are 700 registered Buddhist organizations in Malaysia. What are the contributions of Buddhist women in Malaysia? First is turning the wheel of the Buddha Dhamma. As early as 1935, a Mahayana nun, Bhikkhuni Phong Lien, founded Pote Buddhist Institute in Penang to spread Buddhism through education and orphanage services. Unfortunately, 2 years later, she passed away. But her legacy is continued by her lay disciples and also some bhikkhunis. Their determination and dedication, diligence and far-sightedness manifested in the establishment of Pote Buddhist Institute in 1940, Pote Chinese Primary School, secondary school, and a private kindergarten, and last year a new Pote High School. But the education does not stop there. Chan Sao-yin has indeed started and become the co-founder of Malaysian Buddhist Institute, and they offer certificate of Buddhism. What are the results of their effort? According to Chi Chun, Bhikshuni Chi Chun, from 1970 to 2006, there were 2,646 students and 90% were females. About 50 graduates have become monks and nuns, and more than 90% of Mahayana abbesses in Malaysia temples receive education from MBI. In 1990s onwards, some MBI students furthered their studies in Taiwan, became ordained to serve the international Buddhist community. Folk Concern and Dhamma Drum actively recruited promising Malaysian Buddhist women. And the Buddhist education does not stop in Penang. Pit Chin Hui set up a Maha Buddhist school in Singapore in 1946, and at that time is part of Malaysia until 1963. When the school was transferred to Federation of Singapore, she became the primary school principal. In 1952, she set up Regional Center of the World Fellowship of Buddhists and was the honorary president. According to her, Buddhism is a way of life that brings happiness. She promoted Buddhist activities, supported charity organizations, and translated the City Government Bodhisattva Sutra from Chinese to English. In 1964, she was awarded Public Service Star by the first President of the Republic of Singapore. In 1973, she was appointed Justice of Peace by the second Singapore President. Buddhist woman teacher in Malaysia is also active in Compassion in Action. As a young orphan, Bhikshuni Chang Heng came in contact with Buddhism at Sao Sing Lam, Petaling Jaya. In 1978, she became the third abbess of Sao Sing Lam, and under her able leadership, she diversified. Sao Sing Lam diversified from a Buddhist temple to a compassionate community, helping the less fortunate. She set up a hemodialysis center to service not only the Buddhists, but to all. And in 1999, the center received a tax exemption status. And also in year 2003, the center was awarded the ISO 900. Later in 2004, she also extended the service for stroke patients. According to her, life education for the family and community encompassing mission, action, and quality. She received the 2001 Outstanding Young Malaysian Award, 2007 Outstanding Woman in Buddhism Award, and 2008 Healthcare and Service Award for her selfless and devoted service. The female Dhamma teachers in Malaysia also play the role of bridging individual to group, local to international. Bhikkhuni Xue Chen came back to Malaysia in 2007 after 15 years of teaching humanistic Buddhism in Brazil. She was known as a sincere monk. Despite being held at gunpoint no less than 5 times, she said, "When I was gunpoint, I made this aspiration in my mind. I can't change you, but I'm going to educate and change your children." With determination, courage, and diligence, she helped to build a huge Folk Concern temple and a Buddhist in Brazil. She's now the Folk Concern Malaysia, principal of Tongzhen Institute of Buddhist Studies, and the CEO of Folk Concern Publications. She monitors 15 chapters of Folk Concern in Malaysia and over 100 sub-chapters and groups, including 30 monastic staff. There are about Malaysian nuns in Taiwan headquarters. Some became abbesses around the world. When the robe is put on, according to her, it is genderless. Life when one serves selflessly for the well-being of mankind. So far, hearing about the Buddhist teacher in Mahayana tradition, What about the Theravada woman teacher? Theravada temples and centers in Malaysia have no bhikkhuni teachers. But since late 1980s, some female Buddhists have become Saleh in Burma, Mechi in Thailand, or Dasa Silamata in Sri Lanka. Saleh Susila as a Theravada nun in 1991. In 1994, she practiced under Pao Sayadaw and in year 2000 became one of his leading disciples. She teaches meditation and is responsible for propagating the Abhidhamma. Her first Chinese publication, The 9 Attributes of the Buddha, was well received. A third revision will be printed in China and Malaysia. Her other publication is Unraveling the Mysteries of the Mind and Body through Abhidhamma. Indeed, there are some local Theravada monks who are making initiative towards the establishment of Bhikkhuni order in Malaysia. Sister Dhammika became involved with Buddhism through meditation. Since 1994, she is active in leading and organizing Dhamma activities in Kuching Buddhist Society of Sarawak, East Malaysia, which includes all 3 traditions. In her circle, it is often said that Mahayana is likened to the branches of a tree and leaves. She used to contemplate where is the root of the tree. She often smiles as she says, if there I will not be the beads, neither the plow, but I'll be the string that ties all the beads together. In year 2004, the truth of aging, sickness, and death dawned on her as her teacher became sick and old. That awakening gave her confidence to spread Dhamma and to build a Theravada Buddhist center in Sarawak, and miracles ensued. 2.5 million was raised, and within 10 months, the first stupa in Kuching and the whole center were completed in 2008. She is the founder and chairman of the Dhamma Vijaya Foundation and president of Kuching Dhamma Vijaya Buddhist Association. According to her, a good teacher is an influential role model. For Chin Kim Lan, 85, age is not a barrier for a noble task. She has been serving Buddhist Mahavihara Kuala Lumpur for over 40 years and has initiated many religious and fundraising activities to help construct Buddhist temples and assist underprivileged groups in Malaysia, India, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and Bangladesh. She is a strong supporter of Buddhist novitiate program for 33 years. Despite of many challenges, she is always smiling and says, I feel happy whenever I give. Her optimism and faith in the Buddhist teachings have inspired many others to walk the path. She has initiated the Dhamma family and was the 2007 Nalanda Award for her leadership and integrity. Buddhist women teachers in Malaysia are also active in Sunday Dhamma School. What are their roles and contribution? The Sunday Dhamma School rely heavily on lay Buddhist women. About 70 to 80% teachers are female. Volunteer teachers forgo rest day or family day to teach on Sunday morning. And the basic qualification for them is just a Buddhist knowledge and passion for teaching and sharing Dhamma. And here I shall show you an example of Sister Vinita. Sister Vinita serving the Buddhist Mahavihara Sunday Dhamma School for 22 years. She has 200 volunteer teachers and staff, and 80% are female. She has also about 1,300 students in 31 classes. The school spends over 200,000 per year for Dhamma education for the children. And the teachers and staff are actively improving the syllabus, provide teachers training to motivate the teachers and the students. As there's time constraint, I'll just show you some slides of the activities and the value that they taught in the school. They teach from Buddhist devotion to Buddhist way of life, from gratitude, reverence, humility to contentment, from love, morality, concentration to wisdom, and to wealth, success, and happiness, of course. And most of them say they have tasted the nectar of the Dhamma, and hence they would like to pass on the sweetness of the Dhamma to the others. There are also challenges with the demand of Sunday schools and also the recent national service classes. And it is a continuous call for more teachers. Well, these are the pictures of how we can transform one to walk the